folks, and welcome to a special edition of Straight Talk Whiskey. We are celebrating All Hallows Eve here on Straight Talk Whiskey, and this is episode number 39. So, we had a lot going on this week. We had the Philadelphia Whiskey and Good Spirits Festival, which a lot of things were great, a lot of good new products coming out, well, relatively newish. A lot of them have sort of been on the market for a little bit of time now, but certainly some things that were new to me. I tried to do video, but as you would have it, you need to have the full approval of all the people, sponsors, and everyone involved in order to do that kind of thing, which is a little bit crazy. So I did get some pictures. Because pictures are fine, but taking video, there was a lot more hoops to go through to do that. So, all in all, I'll sort of do a separate little mini review to sum all of that up. But I will say though, as last year I ended up with a bottle of Glenlivet 15-year French Oak Reserve, which we already reserved. This year I ended up with another Glenlivet, which is interesting. I had no plans on, buying one. It was just after tasting everything there and seeing they had remember it's all state-controlled liquor stores here, so there's no private whiskey sales that are allowed here. There's no private liquor stores. It's all state-controlled. So they had a store at the event, and so what they had is what they had, and I guess most bang for my buck ended up being a bottle of Glenlivet, which you could probably guess which bottle that I got, and so maybe you'll guess it now, because I know some people will post videos about, oh, guess what we're reviewing today, and then the whatever they're reviewing is in the header or in the title, so it's not that hard. So here's one review before. Let's see if you can guess it now, and just throw some suggestions up in the comment section if you think you know. But today we are going to be reviewing our second whiskey by the Teeling Whiskey Company in Dublin, making its way back, bringing distilling back, rather, to Ireland in a great number of years, which is wonderful, and it's sort of spearheaded this resurgence of Irish whiskeys that are popping up all over the place. And some Irish distilleries have been operating for a little while and are just now being able to put out some really high quality aged spirit. So that's great to see. So what we have here today is the Teeling. It was a little tough to get open there. Teeling single malt Irish whiskey. Now remember, before we did their small batch, which was wonderful, aged in rum casks, which was a great blend. Here we have a single malt. Now, one of the reasons why I did this for our little special here is because if we're going to do something special like this, just having a nice ambiance, you might as well have a good whiskey to go along with it. And Teeling is a company that, is not afraid of being bold, not only going back to the traditional roots of Irish whiskey making, but also innovating, certainly with their cask finishes and their maturation process. They're definitely set apart from others in the industry in terms of the quality and really forwardness, basically, of what they're putting out. And what I mean by that is you'll see, looking at this nice tin we have here, right on here, filtering, non-chill. So no non-chill, there's non-chill filtering. The proof, 46% ABV. So we got a 92 proof whiskey, which is awesome. You know how we always say, I wish it was 43 at least, or somewhere around there. They bumped it up to 46. Listening to the people that purchase it, and also if you're going to be in this business, you're probably wanting to drink what you produce. So something that you can be proud of. And also on the tin, there's no caramel coloring added, which is just another layer of being upfront, no BSing, no beating around the bush, or any of that, no guesswork, really. I mean, the only thing here is we don't know exactly how old it was, but, I'm sure we could look that up. They're also working with some of the stock they took when they sold Cooley, and so they have some of that stock, but it'll be a few more years before they have their own whiskey that they've been making up to a good age, roughly 5 years or so, until they'll be able to put that out. But they do have some other things. The pot sheen they're selling, haven't seen it over here yet, and I haven't tasted it yet, but I would love to. I know you're all watching this waiting for something in my hair or something to get set on fire, but we're going to try to prevent that, because that would not be good. So, let's pour a bit. Now what makes this different? Well, it's a single malt, for one. So we have that going for it. Also, you don't see it on here, but if you do a little bit of research, you'll know that they basically vat 5 different finishes of this whiskey, 5 different maturation styles, in 5 different casks, all wine casks actually. So you have sherry, port, Madeira, white Burgundy, I believe, and a Cabernet Sauvignon. So 5 very, very unique wines, which just add to the complexity of this, adds to sort of its niche in the Irish whiskey market. It sets it apart. You can't go to many other Irish distilleries and find such innovation, really. Not just, the openness in stating about non-chill filtering, bottling at a higher proof, but really in terms of making the whiskey, going throughout that process, they're doing stuff that's totally unique. So the next time we do a Teeling whiskey review, I hope to get my hands on some of the single grain, because I think that'll do a nice little trifecta there of whiskey reviews from Teeling. So they've got a bunch of their bases covered. Now, I did talk with, let's just say, somebody at the whiskey festival there, and asked about, the possibility of Teeling putting out a single pot still Irish whiskey, right? Because that's what we think of as the traditional whiskey making method in Ireland. So I just asked about that, and they said yes, it is in the works. Didn't say when, didn't say what it would be or anything like that. But I can say a lot more about them than, say, a company like Jack Daniel's, who fights me, seems to be at every end about what they're coming out with, certain products and stuff like that, which I don't think should really be kept a secret. So let's just go in and talk about the Jack Daniel's again real quick while this opens up a little bit, because it is 46%, so giving it a little bit of time to breathe is not a terrible thing. Also, sort of a segue before we go into a segue, once you get your bottle and your tin or whatever, and you leave it on the shelf or something until you actually get to it, and you open it up and you get a nice glass full, or however many for your friends and family and all that sort of thing, whoever you're sharing it with, or just yourself. It's going to take a couple times so this can really open up, really, because this has just been, bottled and corked, so it's to a very large extent staying the same way that it was when it was bottled. And if you look at this, it was bottled in October of last year. So, there you go. Another layer of full disclosure. So, just a little tip that you can expect to see some changes as you go throughout the bottle. And that doesn't mean leaving the bottle open, but just in pouring a few glasses here and there, you'll see something different each time as you progress. So, now going into the Jack Daniel's segue. So, obviously they were there at the festival with their, I don't know if it was a brand ambassador or if it was a representative of the Pennsylvania State-owned state-controlled liquor store. But on the sign, they all have little placards of what you can taste. So on there was Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. And so I said, hey, I'd like to try some of that. Oh, we don't have that, they said. It was on the sign, so I don't know what happened there. And I was one of the first people in the room, so it wasn't like they ran out. They just didn't have it for some reason and put it on there. So I think something's going on there with their marketing department, or in the whiskey that they're making, that something is not right. Now, they did have the new Sinatra Jack Daniel's limited edition, which they said I think there was only 300 cases or bottles of it. I'm not sure exactly what they said. And they make the indentations into the cask, with the staves, expose more wood to the whiskey. But that's it. And it's priced for an outrageous price. Was it good? Yeah, it was certainly good. It was just as good as the Sinatra Select was last year, a year or two before that they did that. Same thing. I asked her what they did that was differently, and they said, oh, well, nothing really, except that it was handpicked by so-and-so, which is fine. I think it would be more impressive for a person on the individual level if you had the money, like 10 or 11 grand, I forget what it is, but to go in and talk to Jeff Arnett, the head distiller there, at Jack Daniel's, and be able to select a cask for yourself and that sort of thing. You're getting the same thing, basically. You're getting however many bottles a cask makes of single barrel proof, really. Or unless they might water it down to 40% ABV and then ship you all those bottles. I'm not sure exactly how they do it. I don't have $10,000 lying around. So, hopefully, if I get to that point, I'll certainly do that. For you. I think it's highly unlikely, but so then I asked, they talked about the type of grains and sort of how they make Jack Daniel's, talking to somebody else next to me, and I said, oh, yeah, that'll be interesting when they release their single barrel rye whiskey. And they said, oh, no, there's no plans for that. So I almost just flung the glass behind me, because I was like, I need to just get myself away from this, because, as you know, if you've listened to the other reviews, there's just been a back and forth, big hassle going on about, me asking, basically for myself, but also for you guys to be able to say, hey, this is coming out, look out for it, let me know if you can find it, if it's selling and what it's selling for at your local whiskey shops or what have you. So, anyway, big problem with that. And so they said no. And basically what I got out of that is the lady told me that they were not happy with the product that they came up with, and they're going back to the drawing board. So maybe some trouble in paradise there with the Jack Daniel's single barrel rye. I don't know. Like I've said time and time again, love Jack Daniel's. I love the whiskey itself. So, it's really unfortunate that there's been so many issues. For whatever reason, I don't understand it. I've got nothing against them, obviously. If you check my reviews, I've done tons and tons of reviews. Whole series on all of their whiskeys that they have. That's, not a collector's edition and is basically the same whiskey as Black Label, really. But anyway, I think this has some time to open up. So let's go to something delightful. Teeling is always a delightful drink. And so let's go in. You can't really see here because we've got the very low light, but it's a nice. I did have the lights on earlier and tried the glass. It was a nice, really light gold, slightly hazy, but not too much. Let's go in for the nose. Wow, the first thing that you get. Is really interesting. You get a heavy note of those wines. Specifically, the dessert wines I think come through the best. Definitely the port and sherry come through pretty heavily on the fruit side of it, but it's also, I feel like they're a little bit drier, like in the Cabernet Sauvignon or the White Burgundy. It might be a little bit drier wines that were in the cask because you get sort of a dried fruit note coming out of it. Definitely the honey influence, that's, very typical with that triple distillation. You got a lot of copper contact going on in there. But also, you've got these 5 different wood types, not wood types, 5 different wine casks, and the influence of the wood in those 5 casks on the spirit is great, because there definitely is a heavier note of vanilla in there that's balancing all of this. It's slight wood smoke, not too much though. But definitely it feels like some mango in there too, a little bit more tropical fruit. Definitely leans a little bit towards like the rum cask even though it's not aged in that. But those sort of fruits, if you can imagine that. Yeah, so let's go in for a taste. Nice, lovely, smooth. First, what I'm getting is those fruits, but very subtle. Nothing too punchy, but a nice little carousel, merry-go-round of flavors going on there. Almost like a slight hint of coconut in there, and if you can sort of get that that texture and mouthfeel of the coconut, that's definitely there. Slight tardiness of fruit going on. Definitely the wood smoke, the vanilla. It's got a nice full-bodied flavor. The 46% ABV really does help here. What it gives you something that is very long-lasting. The finish that is nice and smooth. Slightly spicy. I'm trying to like pepper kind of spicy. Or really interesting. But on the fruit side of it, what you get is a more subdued sort of mango, mandarin orange going on in there. Balanced out pretty nicely with the wood, the wood from the cask influence on there. Some vanilla, a little bit of toffee in there. But definitely a wonderful glass to go on, to go along with a nice fall evening, especially a night like this, All Hallows Eve. Some people celebrate Halloween. I like to think of All Hallows Eve because it's sort of remembering those who have gone before you. I believe in Mexico they have the Day of the Dead, which has always intrigued me, seeing that as more of a celebration than, sadness. So, anytime you can be positive and, just get a positive outlook on life, something to cheer you up, make you smile. This will make you smile, because it's just a lovely, lovely sipping whiskey, and meaning that it's not overly complex. There's no huge, there's no learning curve to get there, you know what I mean? And there's not, for being a single malt, there is not too heavy of an influence of that, the fresh baked goods, malted barley sort of note that we might get with some other whiskeys that we've reviewed. But it's those fruits, it's the finish and aging of the whiskey in the 5 types of wine casks that comes through. And that's where the innovation comes in, is you can take something like a single malt and transform it. Make it different from the norm, which is this is what they're doing. They're not afraid to do this type of thing, and they're not afraid to put out good product for a good price. I know, it's shocking. It's shocking that somebody would do that. just some other things. Little dark chocolate. Still got that honey and slightly herbal note going on to it. It's like green tea. But they're all very smoothed out. There's nothing that is very punchy. There's nothing that overpowers anything else. It's all presented out in a nice, even balance. And it's really just wonderful. So let's go in for a score. I don't hold you for too long. For the candles burn out here. I already got some candle on the old marker here. I'm going to use another one. It'll show up a little bit better. So, for episode number 39, we're going to go with a 93 out of 100 for the Teeling single malt Irish whiskey. It's been a pleasure having you. So happy to be doing the whiskey reviews, having fun, having a good time, getting to share experiences with other people. That's what it's all about. It's about the friends you keep, the memories you have, the good times to share with others. And I'm Nick for Straight Talk Whiskey. We'll be here next week, and hope to see you then. As always, drink responsibly, but have a good one.